All right, how to track the client, part 2. Now, in the last video, we talked about how to actually track the client, which is that we want the client to believe that we understand their problem and that we can actually solve their problem. And in addition to that, we also talked about niche, how to find your niche and how to make sure that they're actually a good fit, right? We introduced the NPPP, too many P's. So after niche, the first P is gonna be problem, which is the fact that what you do actually solves a problem. Now, here's the thing. Most of what we do already solve problems, right? We may go to our clients and say, my name is Jacques, I'm a photographer, I'll take some pictures for you. We may say that, but what we really do is we help you showcase your product to your customers in a way that gets them to want to imagine that product in their home so they can buy that product. Whew, that was good. I should be a copywriter, right? Anyways. So, but that's the problem that a photographer, maybe that works for a furniture company, can say they solve, which is that I help you increase customer acquisition by allowing your customers to imagine your products in their home or something along those lines, right? Or somebody who writes copy, they could say, yeah, I write text to help you build your website. I write text on your website. That's generally how we present ourselves. But maybe I write copy to help your customers go through the proper journey to buying your products. Or I write copy that converts your customers to buying your product. Something like that, right? Or a graphic designer. If you graphic designer maybe for a restaurant, you may say, yeah, I'll go and build you some flyers. Sure. Or the problem you help them solve is you actually help them by giving them products to increase customer acquisition or customer retention. Either way, there's a problem that the thing that you do solves. So the first thing I want you to do within this is really think about the kind of problem that what you do solves, right? And it's important to note that different services can also solve different problems. So for example, going back to the niche diagram, you can be somebody whose skill is design and interest is learning and industry is education, but you solve two different problems for that individual, right? And so one person's solution could be, I design beautiful websites or something like that, right? Because I want to attract younger students or something like that, whatever. Obviously, it's only young students that go to college. Well, not really, going off topic. Another person could say, I build websites, but those are focused on SEO. So I help your university get found via Google. That's the problem I help you solve. Two different people offering the same service. If they're both designing your website, it's gonna come out a different way. The SEO one is gonna be more content heavy, right? They're gonna be more keyword focused and etc. While the other one may be focused more on user experience. They may focus more on, I want to make sure your customers get a proper journey through the site to click the things you need them to click and to not be confused or whatever, right? So having the same niche even doesn't necessarily mean you do the same thing, because you can have two different problems that you solve even though you have the same niche diagram makeup. So my challenge to you is think about what, right under that list of niche you have, write down what kind of problem can each of these trios solve, right? And the problem that you are comfortable with solving. And by the way, if you're like, Jacques, I've thought about this, I really don't know what kind of problem what I do solves, then I want you to start thinking about maybe it's time to rethink what you do, right? Because at the end of the day, people hire people to help them make money or save money in some way, shape, or form. And so it's important for you to tie what you do to a problem, because that's how you start positioning yourself as somebody that's presenting a solution to them. And then you become an investment rather than a cost, right? So that next P is problem, making sure that what you do actually solves the problem. So now we're talking about, again, going back, we're talking about how do you get the clients to believe that you can actually solve their problem and that you understand it. The way you do that is, first, you have a niche that specifically speaks to them. B, you call out that you solve their problem. So for example, this class, right? Not only do I serve freelancing niche, I'm helping you attract high-paying clients and work less, right? And make more money. Those are the problems I'm helping you solve by teaching you the thing I'm teaching you, right? That's very specific. Somebody else could be talking to the same freelancers, but they say, I want to teach you how to manage your money. That's a problem that somebody could be helping you solve, right? I'm just teaching you how to solve the problem of attracting 5-figure clients. So even within that, there are different problems, right? So because I highlighted that's the problem I'm helping you solve, if you have that problem right now, you're more inclined to saying, yeah, I want to work with him. Because not only does he serve my niche, but he also understands the problem that I'm currently having right now. Or at least that's what he's saying he solves, right? Then the next thing is the positioning, where you actually position yourself as the solution provider to set problems. That means publicly on your website, on your social, on your everywhere, you're like, my name is such and I help such and such with such and such. That's when you start getting the, oh snap, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for effect, right? Again, back to this class. However you ended up here, if you land on the web page, you probably saw yourself on that page, whether it's calling out freelancers, you're like, that's me. So it's very public. And I am intentionally turning other people away, letting you know that this was made exactly for you. So the positioning part is for you to integrate this into everything you do. And the way that the phrase goes is basically, I am X and I solve X problem for X type of person. So for example, you can say, we are in web design agency that helps, and insert industry here, that helps startups, that helps fintech startups, that help fitness chains. And the last part is solve X problem. So that helps them increase customer acquisition, that helps them find more leads on Instagram, that helps them get found on Google. That is your position statement. That goes on your website, on your Twitter, on your IG, your TikTok, your Scone, whatever people use, it goes everywhere. That needs to be gone. Yeah, you get the point. So niche, problem, position. And the final P, which I may argue may be the most important P in that list, is your process, which is having a clear process of how you're going to help your clients solve their problem. That is the final P. And that's the most important P that helps the clients believe that you can solve their problem. Let me break down the process one, right? Now, 9 times out of 10, we already have a process for how we do what we do, right? If you're a designer and a client comes and says, I want you to do work, maybe you start by sketching some ideas on paper. Maybe do some Googling, see what's out there. Maybe after you do that, you do some research on colors, looking at what do colors mean. Maybe you get some inspiration, go to Dribbble or whatever design website and get some ideas, and then you start designing. Then you give the client a sample, they yay, nay it, use, like whatever I just described, that process, 9 times out of 10, you're probably doing the same thing for every client. That's your process. Oftentimes what we fail to do is we fail to document that process or acknowledge that process. Having a process, a specific way that you do something, is more powerful than you think. And I'll break it down for you. It helps with finding clients. It helps with closing clients. It helps with managing clients, hiring team members, and the list goes on. Let's break it down, right? And I'll talk to you about how to actually use the process. So the first thing is, I want you to stop and really think about what is the step that I take for every client, every project. I want you to document that. First, I do this, then I do this, and I do this. Once you kind of have a list, it should be a long list, then you merge them into categories. So for example, one category could be the discovery category, where you show all your research stuff goes in there. All the deliverables that coincides with research, you put it into the discovery category. The next category could be sketching, where you show like, this is my early process of sketching, or you can call that one ideation if this is the design person, right? The next one could be UI or user interface or something where you're actually now designing it on Illustrator or whatever tool you use, and you have a bunch of things you do within that thing. Now, each of these categories, we call them stages. So every business has X amount of stages in their process for their main service or their full production, right? See, it's coming all together. So you have a full production that you do, and you have a process for how you actually do said full production, right? And you have all the niche and all that kind of stuff, but your process now, how it's used, it's the thing that gives your clients the confidence that you can actually solve the problem. Because here's the thing, clients will pay the most money for the least riskiest option. And the way to be the least riskiest option to a client is by telling them exactly what you're gonna do. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have a car, a hoopty, right? You go to the mechanic and they're like, all right, give me 2 hours, it should be fixed. And you thinking it's gonna cost $100. You go back and they said, look, so the original job is 100, but I actually gotta charge you 500. I had to do some stuff. Some things were broken, so I had to fix it. So now you went from needing to pay 100 to 500, right? That's the one scenario. Now, on the second scenario, you go to the same mechanic, right? And let's say that mechanic gives you the same invoice and say, hey, so here's what happened. I went, opened the hood, and did the work that we asked for. But while I was there, I also noticed the alternator was alternating. I don't know nothing about cars, so don't judge me out. So then after that, we had to open the hood, move it around left and right, flip, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when we did the alteration of the whatever, right? Then once we finished that, we had to then get a new lug nut because the lug nut was, I don't know, whatever. And you're just going through this process of telling them what happened, right? Now, just in those two examples, the first example, you kind of just say, here's what it is. Here's how much you owe me, thanks. Versus, here's how much you owe me and here's why we got here. I don't got it. I'm sure the second route, you'd feel more comfortable spending that money because you get a sense of what it is, right? Now let's do the same thing, but in reverse, before you get the job. When you go to the same mechanic and they're looking at the project and they say, yeah, so we took a look at it. It'll cost about $2,000 to fix. When do you want to start? Versus, hey, so I took a look at the job. Now, based on what I'm seeing, and this is when education starts, right? Based on what I'm seeing, you need a new alternator. Now, the alternator, and I'll show you, so this piece right here, the alternator is a Samsung 2500 250, right? That alternator has been discontinued since 1992. And so as a result, by having this now, what it's affecting with the oil and the gas is doing some kind of something, right? I'm making this up. And then eventually, blah, 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 so X, Y, and Z. So what we're gonna need to do is actually take that one, order a new set, then we're gonna need to go to a welding company and take it and blink it and do something else to it. And then after that, once we bring it back to the shop, then our team member will be able to take it and put it under. And then we'll do the oil test to make sure that the oil is blah, 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 whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That'll cost you $2,000. Now, what's the difference? Maybe the person the person I just said maybe a bit more annoying. I mean, a lot of technical stuff. But as a consumer that's spending your money, you feel more confident with spending money with that person. You don't feel like you're getting taken advantage of. Why? Because you know the process. You get a sense of what's going to happen. This is what I'm paying for. I'm paying for all these various steps. So how does that affect and how does that apply to your business? Well, we've already talked about documenting your process. I want you to now make sure that you never leave a client conversation without talking about your process, because they're not hiring you for anything. They're hiring you for your process. So if it's like, hey, I help you solve your problem, my process is how I'm going to solve my problem. So here's how it goes. Let's look at one of our companies called Shade, which is an influencer marketing agency, right? I believe our process is eight stages. Influencer strategy, influencer casting, content production, launch, reporting, and then whatever number that is, right? So let's look at this company as an example, right? Client says, hey, so my problem is, which is the problem we help them solve. If you go on our site now, we own a company that is an influencer marketing agency that helps brands influence, reach, and connect with black consumers, right? So it's very specific. If there's a brand that's looking for any other type of consumers, they're like, yeah, Shade is not for me. We're very specific, back to the positioning of our services, right? But those who are looking for what we do, they'll have that, oh, that's me. That's exactly what I'm looking for effect, right? And so with this company, we offer the service. And so now let's say a client comes to us and says, all right, I'm looking to reach black consumers with my product X, Y, and Z. I read your site and it says that you do this, Y, and Z. Tell me about what you do. Yeah, so here's the thing. We do this, we've been doing this for X, Y, and Z years, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Now, the process that we go through to help you get there is first, we actually start by doing a thorough strategy session internally with our team, where we actually think through, who are the subgroups and subcultures that your product targets within black culture, right? And then we kind of do assessment of what is their kind of makeup from a demographic standpoint, from a psychographic standpoint. Then we use all that information to construct our strategy and determine which social media platforms and which types of influencers make the most sense for this campaign. Once we have that confirmed, that's on our first stage, the strategy. Then we go to start casting for the talent. Now we have 3 ways to cast. We start by casting through our roster. Then we have our partners rosters. And when we cast, so let's say the campaign, we're looking for 10 people, we'll cast about 30, provide those to you. You then yay or nay, and we'll make sure we end up with the best 10 out of that 30. Then once we finish the casting, then we move on to the content production stage. And within the content production stage, we have the scripting stage where they're gonna provide a sample and you get to yay or nay it. We'll provide the concept where you get to yay or nay the concept. And once that's done, then we'll provide the content for you to approve, deny, etc. And once that is done, then we'll move on to the launch stage where we actually start thinking about what is the best timeline to launch this thing strategically, right? And so once we go through the launch stage, and that's launch, then we go through the media buying stage where we actually now run ads to promote this content to more audiences, share a bit more about how that works. And then finally, once it's all done, we create a report that puts it all together in one document for you and your team. That's how it works. At that point now, I've left they're gonna have more questions, whatever, but they don't feel like they're just giving money to this kid to just, hopefully there's some results. It's very clear what I'm gonna be doing for them. So I'm not giving the step-by-step, we're gonna do this, but I'm just giving them a paragraph of what's gonna happen within each of our stages. And that's how you use your process. to help your clients believe that you can actually solve your problem. In addition to that, that's how you become the least riskiest option, by being the person that serves the niche of the client, by having a problem that actually you can solve that serves the client's problem, that you position yourself as the person that solves that problem, and then finally having a process to how to actually solve that problem. So that's how you go about attracting 10K clients. I'll see you in the next video.